Check. Welcome to the One Life, One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. I have my sidekick today, once again, Mr. Derek Green.
Thank you for having me. Roof.
You doing it super low today?
Doing it low because I heard complaints about my
Jovasion.
My Arsenio.
No complaints. It's just when you go,
Arsenio.
ooh, the shit goes crazy on here.
The dog pound.
And our very special guest, Mr. Paul Mittleman.
Thanks for having me.
That's a cool name, cool last name.
Middleman.
It's kind of like in New York. It's probably not that exotic, but
It's
somewhere
in
else
English.
I think it's part German.
Is it?
I think it's the wrong spelling of German because Germany would be Mittel.
Right.
So
Mittleman.
I think it might have been one of those things you came to whatever Statue of Liberty like.
They're like,
we're
Middleman.
We're spelling
That
it this
sounds
way.
good.
Probably.
It's like
yeah, what is that? What is that last name? What are you?
Jewish.
Jewish, okay, yeah.
Most of my family's from Western Europe.
Well,
But-
welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And before we get into your thing, we should say right off the jump that he got you a job at Phat Farm.
Yes. That's our how we ended up knowing each other. Mm-hmm. From that, when I first moved to New York, that was one of my first jobs. But I was also working in an art gallery.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, my sister is an artist, and she knows Paul. And that was crazy because you were doing a lot of photography.
I was doing art stuff too. That's why I
Yeah.
knew your sister from like Gary and all and Franklin, all like that crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then Renee was like, "Oh, my brother's moving here. Can you get him a job?" I was like, "Possibly." And then
That's
I think,
before you even knew each other?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
yeah, I knew his sister for a few years before. I'd helped her on some stuff.
Yeah.
And then somewhere she's like, "Hey, easy." You might have been at the gallery even that day.
Yeah, and then you were doing. I remember you were doing a photo shoot. And
Yeah,
there
and
were
then-
some guys like there was like Tyson Beckett was there, and he
Yes.
was really young.
Yes.
Like he hadn't
Oh, he
blown
was
up
huge
yet.
back then.
But
man.
he
It was
wasn't
before he blew up.
Yeah,
It was
way-
pre-polo.
Okay. Pre-polo.
Pre-polo and pre, now he's like motorcycle guy.
And
He
I was
did Phat Farm shit too, though, right?
I think so.
yeah, I think so. Because you were doing photos for them
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. But anyway, I was like, "What's Phat Farm?" You're like, "Oh, it's easy. You got it." I was like, "I never worked at a clothing store," and you're like, "It's pretty easy. You're gonna be like assistant manager and just."
It was probably very easy. Stand around.
Right. But it was, oh my God, yeah. It just a whole different world. It was awesome.
So you were born and raised in New York, right?
Yes.
Manhattan, Queens, or where were you?
Upper West Side.
Nice.
And then moved downtown like maybe 88.
88?
Yeah. It's definitely drawn to downtown.
Yeah, I love downtown too. That's the only place I lived. And then when I started going back to visit, staying at my friend's apartment uptown, I was like, wow, this is like a totally different world. And because I never went past like maybe 23rd Street. I stayed in my little bubble.
Has downtown always been a magnet for creativity and
I
artists?
I think so.
I think so. I just liked to, for me, I liked art, didn't know anything. It was more like, I'm going to go buy records.
Right.
Or like go to like, punk rock clothing store to buy Creepers or Dr. Martens or, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And then you started seeing like, you'd wander around, go to Watch Square Park, like, oh, people are hanging out that kind of dress like me and probably look like me. And you started making friends.
Right.
Yeah. What was the stores back then? Was it 99X and Trash and Vaudeville? Were they around back then?
99X, Trash and Vaudeville.
That was sick.
99X is the one that sold all the Fred Perrys and stuff, right?
Yeah, and all the docs, yeah.
And then Trash and Vaudeville, Flip, Canal Jeans.
Canal Jeans,
Canal
yeah.
Jeans
Antique
was
Boutique.
massive.
Yeah. And then your parents owned something called Pandemonium?
On the Upper West Side, my mom and dad, but they split up. So that was in a way, that was like the Upper West Side version of one of those stores.
Yeah.
It's a lot of like thrift stuff and old stuff, and a bit of like in the 70s, kind of like a head shop. Like they probably sold bongs and stuff. So it's kind of like hippie-ish, then became a store.
I think you say like dead. You call like, maybe I saw a quote, like dead people clothes, kind of like.
Yeah, they used to buy like dead stock, like Levi's, M65 jackets.
Yeah.
And especially from that, there was a lot of stuff after the Vietnam War that was like, no one knew what to do. And that's why you see people always wearing that kind of stuff, because it was cheap.
Yeah. So were you working for your parents while you were in school and stuff too?
No, I was just kind of tooled around. And then after school, I started getting more interested in it. Because I was like, oh, maybe there's a job, not here, but maybe there's something to do. Because I didn't really have a plan.
Okay.
And it was, able to work a bit, also hang out and not be so formal.
Yeah.
But also learned a bunch of stuff.
But you graduated?
Yes.
And
What high school?
Emerson.
Damn, I don't think I have anybody in the podcast who was born and raised in New York and went to high school there.
Really?
If I could think back.
Sure you did. I'm sure you did.
And then I went to Hunter for college.
Hunter College, yeah. That's legit. I always heard that name when I was in New York. No, Hunter's legit.
Well, it was kind of like I didn't want to leave New York. I couldn't afford
Yeah.
NYU.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Hunter
yeah.
was like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And what was
A
what
lot of
were you
friends.
majoring in?
Art history.
Okay.
Nice.
Damn. So then
did some philosophy stuff. So I actually have a double major.
Oh wow.
And it was also good to be in New York because at that point I still worked at Phat Farm for part of it because I was in and out of that place I think 3 times, and I was just working in restaurants to pay for the whole thing.
Okay. What spots? You remember restaurants?
Yeah, Lucky Strike, Jerry's,
Yeah.
Time Cafe.
Time Cafe.
Time Cafe.
That's awesome.
Bill Spector worked at Time Cafe.
Shout out to Bill Spector, man. Sheets and Pillows, man. That was amazing times, man.
This dude Fahim worked there. He was the pastry chef. That was.
Is it the same Fahim I know from the hardcore scene?
Yes.
Wow. Fahim with the
Everybody
shaved head?
worked
Yeah.
Ill dancer.
Yeah, great dude. Glasses.
Yeah.
Everybody worked there, man.
Because we used to go out and play.
He was friends with Chaka, too, Fahim.
Yes. They all. Bill brought a craze crew that couldn't handle. But I remember me and Fahim would go to the pool hall on 12th Street after work and play Street Fighter 2 for hours.
Wow.
And he's like, hey, there's a hardcore show. You want to go? I was like, yeah, cool. So wandered back east or down south, wherever it was.
Damn.
But he was fun to hang with.
Yeah.
And I bumped into him a few years ago on Broadway, and he's like DJing and stuff. Like, he's doing his thing.
Yeah. Was your family involved in Unique?
No, but my father and the guy that owned Unique and a few of those, they all grew up in Coney Island together.
Okay.
So it was like a weird, like, they all knew each other as kids, and they did know each other, but by that point, it was like, yeah, they were cordially friendly, but they didn't hang out.
Okay. Yeah, Unique was like Chi Ali videos. There was so much stuff going on just in front of Unique, just hanging out in front of there.
That was great. The whole
Were you there when Unique was there in Broadway?
I remember Unique, yeah.
It was a crazy like clothing store and
Yep.
like hip hop, and there was so much stuff being filmed just in the area too, right?
Totally.
Because Tommy Boy was over there too in the area, right?
So was Def Jam
Yeah.
Def Jam, right?
and Profile Records.
Oh yeah. So much shit, man. were you a breakdancer too?
No,
Okay,
just skateboarded.
skateboarder. So did skateboarding? Did you get into that during school once you graduated and started hanging out more?
I skateboarded for some reason. I gravitated towards it
At
when
a
I was
young
very
age?
yeah. I mean, like a board with clay wheels kind of thing, and then
Yeah.
then like didn't do it for a while. I was like, oh, I kind of want to skateboard again.
Yeah. Street skating in New York is so insane, man.
I was pretty used to just bombing streets.
Yeah.
Now I don't think I'd even get on a skateboard in New York.
Yeah. Did you do the Brooklyn Banks too?
Oh, all the time.
That was classic, man. That was an awesome spot, man.
Brooklyn Banks. But also just that. You'd be in Washington Square Park, like, let's go to Brooklyn Banks and just bomb down Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, make lights, hopefully.
Yeah.
Catch onto cars. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. And I remember Supreme was just like a skate shop.
Yeah, I mean, this was even before Supreme. This was like, there was Dream Wheels on Mercer, right between between 8th and Waverly.
Okay.
Then Paragon used to go skateboards.
Paragon, wow.
Shout out to Brian used to work at Paragon.
Wow.
It was like surf,
Yeah,
snowboard,
yeah,
skate.
totally
Yeah.
Then there was a spot uptown called Scandinavia Ski up by Central Park.
Okay.
That sold skateboards. And then there were Soho Skates.
Soho Skates. Yeah, that's right. Soho Skates.
There's 2 of those. There was one lower near Canal, and there was the other one on Prince.
Okay.
Prince and 6th, I guess, by where Sue N was.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's so crazy because we lived there at the same time. You knew him, obviously, we probably crossed paths so many times in different areas and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I knew you from that, but it's a bit later. Then I remember seeing you all at like Sheets and Pillows and Payday or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the Friday night.
So fun. Those clubs are crazy, man.
Super fun.
Bill Spector's still around, too.
He's in Miami.
Okay. You haven't seen him in years, man.
I texted him like right before I was down there. I wanted to see him. He manages a restaurant as one of his jobs.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, we're closed for the summer. I was like, all right, cool. Next time.
And we just had Kenneth Capello on here, too, and he credits you for connecting him with Supreme to do those photos.
Yeah, I tried to work with Kenneth when he was around the kind of A-life, like that.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really my scene. I was still more of like a Soho guy.
Yeah.
When he hung out with Dash and all those dudes. I was
Yeah.
like, there was a little, I don't want to say friction, it was just a different world.
Yeah.
And then randomly enough, I lived on Vista right behind Brooklyn Projects.
Yep.
And then Kenneth wound up moving around the corner.
Oh, shit, okay.
I don't even know. One day I'm walking the dog. He's like, yeah, I moved here. I was like, okay.
Wow.
So we then hung out all the time.
Yeah.
And before he moved here, we did a bunch of jobs together.
Yeah. Kenneth Capello's story is incredible.
It's crazy.
Too,
I didn't even know he was a photographer.
Yeah, he worked at he worked at Beauty Bar with my wife and Derek on 14th Street.
Yeah, when I was working there, he was like a bar back, and he just moved to New York, and he had
From
a
Texas.
strong accent from Texas. Like, hey, y'all, how you doing, man? And I had no idea he was inclined towards taking photos.
Me either, man.
Until
Back then,
I moved out here, and you're like, yo, Kenneth is huge.
he blew up. Yeah.
He did. He does good work.
Right.
So what were you where were you at in your life before you started working for Stüssy? Like what brands and stuff like that leading up to that?
I didn't work for anyone before. I became friends with Shawn Stüssy randomly.
Yeah.
And he just kind of was like, hey, you want to work on some stuff? Like mellow. Like it was like almost just street marketing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Like, oh, you know a bunch of people, you want to give them some clothes. Like, super naive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was no plan. And it was just friends of mine.
Okay.
Like some people in LA, some people in New York, some people in London that we all were connected with probably from the club scene.
Yeah.
And then that became more and more that I got more interested. And then I was in school because I was like, the Stüssy thing, I wasn't really prepared to get a real job.
Yeah.
And not that they really offered one, but it was all good. Then I went to I went to school for a while, and then Phat Farm and Russell, Ollie, Eli, and this guy Dom were like, let's do this. We started a complete shit show, but in a good way. And then I was there on and off for a while because it was very dysfunctional.
It was crazy.
You told me stories, man.
Geez.
And I didn't even realize until there was hindsight of how dysfunctional it was.
Right.
But all good, learn something. And then what we were doing actually started getting quite good. And then Stüssy had said, oh, do you want to freelance? And I was like, yeah,
wow.
cool. I don't work there anymore, so cool. And then that it kind of worked, and it went from like, here's a few hundred a month. Here's a few thousand a month. Like, oh, you want a job? And I was like, oh, okay.
That's a lot back then, a few thousand a month, man.
Oh yeah,
That
it was
would
like
be great.
like I bought a car like I bought a Bronco in New York. You're like,
Sick.
it was like, wow, you have a car.
In New York.
In New York, that
it's
is
like
sick, yeah.
Big time.
And then moved from like my 6th floor walk up on Mulberry to like Mercer in like an elevator building. And I was like,
Wow.
that was like, you made it.
And how old were you then, 20s?
Late 20s.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it was cool. Like 6th floor walk up. That
Yeah.
did its thing.
Forgot about those. Yeah.
Fuck.
I die now.
And then you did that first ad with Dante Ross was in there, just that photo.
Yeah, Dante,
Iconic
Jules, Jeremy was on Spring and Worcester.
Yeah.
And that, in a way, that became
set
like
it off.
that. In a way, that's the street culture image of people like, oh shit, they're wearing sneakers and there's graffiti on the wall, baseball hats.
So is that the original kind of streetwear, or was Vision streetwear happening out here at the time?
Vision was happening at the same time.
Okay.
But I think they called it that as a brand. I don't think they had intent that it would be. I think it was I think it was a really bright name.
Yeah.
But I don't think they thought it would be like streetwear. It was just like you skateboard in it. Hey, Brad Dorfin's a pretty smart marketer.
Yeah.
He probably just streetwear, cool name, check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It became massive. now.
It's huge in Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, it was.
I remember getting a Stüssy hat. You're so excited to save it. It was like that. It was like Ocean Pacific or Stüssy. Like save up to get something, one of those items.
But it was definitely a step up. I mean, with Stüssy, it was like, oh, snap. Like, this is something.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was Homeboy's last name until like years ago.
Neither did I.
I thought it was just some cool name somebody came up with.
Yeah. But I remember
And
it
that
was just
font
like,
too. The font was sick.
the font was sick, and it was definitely like above like OP or any of that.
And that's just how he signs checks and stuff. That's just his signature.
Wow, that's cool. Wow.
It's not like I'm sure he's practiced a few
Yeah.
times, but if you look at it, that's the signature.
Wow. My friend I do the podcast with was telling me, gonna have you on here today. He's like, dude, I have a friend who knows him, and he's supposed to write my name, and that's Stüssy, right? I'm gonna get it tattooed. I'm like, that's kind of sick, like to have like a custom your name written out.
I'm sure it's happened before.
Yeah.
A font, like he's gonna have like that Stüssy style.
Yeah, for his name.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
So how long were you the Stüssy for?
I think 14 years.
Wow.
I mean, I was there loosely from like 86 to 90. Then I stopped to go do other things.
Yeah.
And then I came back around 94, 95.
This
And
show
then-
was huge, man.
And then stayed for most of it. Then we had a kid in 2000 or
Yes.
2001. And me and my wife were like, what are we in New York for? So we were like, let's split.
So you
We're-
came in 2001?
Yes.
That's when I came in.
We were always
Yeah.
out here because I actually had an apartment in Laguna Beach to work.
Nice.
And she had an apartment in LA, and we're like, we have 2 apartments. We don't want to fly back and forth with the kid. I was like, let's just move.
Yeah.
Loaded up the car and split.
So, like, what type of things would these companies ask you to do? Like, would they say, like, hey, we need to, like, was it marketing or design or?
Back with Stu, I mean, Phat Farm was, as you know,
It was everything?
everything, but it was a mess. Stüssy's brand, it was, they knew what they were doing, but
Right. I mean,
small.
Phat Farm was like, Russell pretty much like, yeah, I want to do a clothing line like
Totally.
Tommy Hilfiger.
I mean, in the beginning, you want to be cross colors
Right.
That was a shit.
or FUBU or something, and we're like, no,
Now you're like,
let's take it a little more like polo, what people
Right.
are wearing, a Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica. But that was whatever. Stüssy was at first just go buy samples and let's try to make some things, because it was the time when Shawn was going to retire to go on to the next part of his life.
Yeah.
And then it was like, let's design things, let's do graphics. It was everything.
Okay.
It's like starting a band. You do everything.
Yeah.
There's
Right,
no.
right.
Yeah.
And then as it got, I don't want to say successful, because there was a while where it wasn't doing great. When it started kicking up, it's like, hey, we need to do an ad campaign.
So you were doing the photography.
I wasn't taking the pictures, but
Okay.
I was styling it.
Right.
Finding like Dave Perez or Kenneth Later, good photographers that
Right.
got it.
Yeah.
Finding cool kids. It's the same formula everyone does now, like street casting or street marketing. That was just what we did. You're like, I'm going to stand on Lafayette Street and that kid's kind of cool looking. You want a model? You want $1,000? Like, or I'm making up the narrative.
I mean, the only reason I'm asking, because some people might think like, what is it that he's doing?
It was all of it.
Okay.
And then as it gets bigger, you have to hire, like, oh, you're the marketing like a record label or something. You know, it's like you start doing, but then you're like, it kind of worked better when there wasn't so many people around. Not always, but and it's, excuse me, when it gets corporate like that, there's just like, it's just big.
Yeah.
When did that turn? Like, when did that happen? Like, when did it actually blow up, and what was it, you think?
Yeah.
I think, well, it did very well in the like late 80s, early 90s, but that was more like the stuff that we remember, like the colorful T-shirts, and the Rasta colors, and then it kind of moved away. So I think it got like, my older brother wears that. I want something new. So it kind of fades. You know, like things go in cycles.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think it always did well in Japan. They have, I think, 40 or 50 stores in Japan. So then it was like, but at that point, as it started getting back to where it was in like the mid 90s, like in Japan had their own brands that were starting to look really good, like Bape and Neighborhood. And
my boy Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, Bounty Hunter, who I still see. I randomly will see him on an airplane or something.
Yeah, he's the best. Yeah.
He goes on an airplane with no luggage.
This is fanny pack with all the shit. Yeah.
I remember actually once. Did you used to live on like Detroit?
Yeah.
I remember
stay with me over there.
No, he's walking down the street. I was like, I honked the car. I was like, dude, what? He's like, I'm going to Toby. I was like, do you want to ride? And he kind of, okay.
Wow.
And this is LA, like leather jacket, skinny pants, boots.
Man.
You're like, dude, it's 95 degrees out.
Yeah. He's amazing. I can show you a picture of Cairo, man. One time me and him swapped clothes. Whatever I was wearing, I put in all of his clothes. We took photos together. I was wearing his little jacket. Amazing toy maker, artist. Bounty Hunter's amazing brands.
I remember I was flying back from Japan, sitting there. I think we were both business. I was on a Stüssy trip. He's sitting like honestly next to me, which is funny. And I was playing my headphones, big headphones. It was like Cherry Bomb, and he was psyched. But he was sitting there like reading like the airline magazine. I was like, okay. And then 2 days later, I forgot what it was. There was a punk show, like concert, like out, not Palmdale, but that way.
I remember.
It was like the Sex Pistols played.
I was there. I think Rancid played too, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, Blink-182. I forgot everyone played, but it was kind of fun. And I was like, I don't know what he was here for. That was the time I saw him on the street.
Yeah.
And then saw him there, and he was like so psyched. Same outfit.
Yeah.
And it was like 115 out there with the funny glasses he used to wear.
He's the best. He still wears this shit, dude. He's amazing, man.
Black nail polish.
Yeah. Super, like a punk DJ, super fan of everything. Good friends with Rancid as well. And he was out DJing our first shows in Japan in the early 90s. This is how we met him and became good friends. He'd come stay with us. We stay with him. And he's a dad now, too. It's awesome.
No, it's rad. But he's like, I think anyone that was in that scene that wanted to be like, oh, call him.
Yeah, super connected, super cool toys. Look like Captain Crunch kind of toys mixed with Misfits.
Right.
Captain Crunch and Misfits kind of,
She was great.
Yeah. So were you traveling and stuff, too, for Stüssy back
All
then?
the time.
Yeah.
I mean, Tokyo was always good because we had business there, and then going to Europe. So more traveling than not, but I forgot where we were before we got sidetracked.
Yeah, well how when it became big, like how many people work in it until it went to like huge corporations?
It's never gotten to a huge corporation.
Okay.
So 50 to 100 people in California. I'm not saying globally there's more people.
Yeah.
But it was never huge. It was a family-owned company still. It's not a publicly traded company.
It's sick.
So it's still family-run.
Yeah.
Still cruising. Then as it got going again, more people came and it got bigger. And then after like 14, 15 years, it was like, you've been here a while. Well, let's think of a mutual exit strategy.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. Also, I need to do something else. It was getting a little bit. And I was like, never a fun conversation, but it all worked out cool. We're all cool. And they gave me like, hey, you can work for another year, but then, I'm just giving you a heads up. That's kind of it. And it wasn't it wasn't like being a jerk. It was just a matter of fact. And then I wound up, starting to look for jobs. I was like, was there anything in LA? And I was like, kind of want to stay, but kind of want to split. And that's when Adidas had offered me a job to go to Germany.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And then
go to Germany?
Yeah. So we lived in Germany for 5 years.
What? Shit. Where in Germany?
Outside of Nuremberg.
You speaking sehr gut Deutsch yet?
Nope.
Kein Deutsch. All right.
Yeah, that's crazy. 5 years?
5 years and where again? I'm sorry.
It's outside of Nuremberg.
Okay.
Well, is Adidas from there, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's basically Bavaria. So it's like living in the Texas of super wealthy. But either working class, like even working, like the plumber that lived next door had a boat.
Right.
Like super cool.
No, it's a super rich area, Bavaria.
Okay.
And then if you go to Munich, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. It's over the top.
But it was a really nice place to live, actually. It was,
great work ethics.
Oh, yeah. It's like...
Yeah.
It's just like, we are doing this...
that and also like the vacation scene. Like, they treat employees well.
Absolutely.
I heard that.
like super well. You get back here, you're like, wow, the streets are kind of effed up, and schools cost who knows what.
Yeah.
There, it's like everything's, I don't want to say free because you pay taxes.
Yeah.
But like healthcare, education, the roads are perfect.
I heard even the husband gets paternity leave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they think of it all.
Yeah, I think the woman gets like, I'm making this. It's 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
And I think you could take it in pieces.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then your husband gets like, I gotta make it 3 months, but you can't do it together. So there's times that you can have an employee that you're like, I haven't seen you for a year.
Right.
Oh, or you might see them downstairs with the kid. Just, hey, I want to get lunch with my friend. But you're treated well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
she loved it there?
Yeah, it was cool. My kid went to school there.
Wow.
We all liked it, but then it was definitely, we knew there'd be a time that's like, it's time to head home.
So does your kid speak German at all? No.
She does, but doesn't need to do it now. But
Okay,
if she went back there, she can easily.
And your job was pretty much the same as far
Well, that's when it got corporate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in a way, that's like,
No joke.
I mean,
So what was your title?
Stüssy's
What
like,
position?
I'm trying to think. I mean, Stüssy's I'm making a $50-100 million company, give or take, which seems huge. Adidas is like 15 billion.
Jesus, man.
So it's just big, and then Nike's like 30 billion. I mean, I'm making up the numbers, but then you get in there and you're like, oh wow, this is formal. I wasn't prepared for it.
Oh, really?
Luckily, I had a cool boss, but it's like definitely a sink or swim.
So what were they like? What was that they needed from you? Like, wow, we think you would be.
I was the senior design director for Men's Originals footwear and apparel.
Nice.
And it was cool, but they wanted to make it a little bit, Originals is definitely like track jackets. No, that's what they sell. Or superstars. They wanted to make it a little bit more interesting.
Okay.
And I guess the people in Europe still really focus it on as a European heritage brand.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't move it forward.
I see.
Is that like Stan Smith, Shelto, all the classic
all that's
shit?
originals.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Good
the
shit.
it's a great business, but there's a certain point where you need to do something
Absolutely.
else. And
Yeah.
that's where you look like, a Nike. They're always doing something else.
True.
They have a great library, but they're always coming out.
Yeah.
And not to say that Adidas Performance wasn't doing good stuff, but it just wasn't resonating the same way.
It came back hard with the NMDs and all the other stuff.
What really kicked it off was
Kanye.
before that was the Kanye Pharrell.
Yeah. Dude.
That's when it was like it became a name again.
Yeah. They put it back on the map, right?
Totally.
Were you working there during that time too?
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
I was there for the first Kanye meetings, which were random.
Did you have something to do with that happening?
Not with that happening. The CMO at the time, this guy Herman Deininger, as Kanye was kind of doing, trying to re-up the Nike thing, he had snuck down, I think it was Geneva or Zurich, to go to a Kanye show and to talk to him. Didn't tell anyone, nor did he have to.
Right.
And a few weeks later, he called me and my boss in because somehow he found out that I knew Kanye and Don and all those guys from LA.
Yeah.
He's like, they're coming. Will you be at the meeting? I was like, yeah, it's totally cool. So I walk in, and he's with Leor Cohen.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Which was his manager at the time. And Leor's like, what are you doing? Well, that lasted probably 2 months. But so Leo was like, oh, I had no idea you were going to be here because we were cool from that era.
Yeah.
And he's like, we were all going to dinner together. He's like, can you come with us just to give us some rundown of what the hell's going on here? Not in a bad way. They're just like, these guys probably flew a private jet to like Munich, took a Mercedes up. They're like, it's just not, that's the way they roll.
Yeah.
Right.
And long story short, we had a dinner with them and it was like, yeah, let's do this. And nothing got signed, but I think what he was doing is like, let me go back to Nike now and be like, I kind of got this and kind of really want that, but Nike was like, no, we ain't doing it. And
he was like, wow.
so, but Adidas gave him what he wanted, and it's done well, I guess. People seem to like it. And at the same point, I randomly bumped up into Pharrell in Berlin. An old friend of mine's one of his managers, a guy that actually used to work at Soho Skates.
Okay.
And we're like, oh, let's go see Pharrell. He was like half asleep, jet lagged, and it was pre-happiness. Like it wasn't like his career wasn't back to.
Yeah.
It was right before it kicked off, and we were actually in a van going to a Mark Gonzalez party because Pharrell liked skating, which is an Adidas party.
Skateboard P.
So we went to we were in a drive-through, as you would be in Berlin, at a McDonald's. And getting burgers or I don't remember, a Coke or something. And we were just talking. He's like, hey, I kind of want to do sneakers again. I was like, I can't sign a deal, but give it a second. So we went to the party and everyone's like, wow, Pharrell's here. He's very charismatic. Like when he's someone that I don't want to say people focus on, but lights up a room in a way. Mm-hmm. And then I went back on Monday. They're like, yeah, if he wants to do it. And that started working. And randomly, I think Kanye and Pharrell, even though they spoke because they are friends, they both signed in December, and then it both happened. Wow. So the brand was kind of like, then it just became momentum. Like they had Nego at the time, Palace Skateboards, Rick Owens, Ralph Simmons. Like the company was in a good spot. And then the NMD stuff came out. And then a little while after that, I was at 5 years, and I was like, I think it's time to head home. And also with these brand styles, when things go, you start adding more people because there's more work, and you're like,
Totally.
there's just too many geniuses in the room.
I see.
Wow.
Got it.
Because a lot of especially when it gets into the kind of street culture thing, they might be great at performance running, but they don't know the sensibilities to that.
Yeah.
And that's why you sometimes look at things, you're like, how'd this get made?
It's crazy. So yeah, the Yeezys took off, man.
So I was there in the beginning of it, and then I helped in the beginning, not design the shoes, but I was really there to make sure he was in a reasonable spot, and then there were other people around him as, say, handlers.
Yeah.
He liked someone in the room that he kind of knows, and that's when he had his whole team that have gone on to the Virgils and Jerry Lorenzo. They were all there with him, and then they all started doing other things.
Yeah.
And then in a strategic way, Nike's like, hey, let's grab all them, and he can stay there. So you can see how it all works.
Wow.
And then I stayed for a bit. It's like Germany I was kind of over. I wasn't traveling as much. I wanted to be home.
Yeah.
So Converse offered me a job, which... not a fan of Boston. No offense to your show next week.
Yeah.
And it was a good.
Tim Bergevin works out there.
Yeah, Tim at the office next to me.
Yo, so Tim was my dude at Nike.
Way.
Tim's old hardcore kid. He toured Mad Dog Night back in the day. He became. We met him through. We did the Hazen Street deal with Epic. He started taking care of us and my family for Nike for like 8 or 9 years. Then he took over Converse. He was in England. He was in Paris. Now he runs Boston. So there we go.
So he had the office next to
Crazy.
me. And it was nice. We bought a house. My kid finished school there. Or not finished.
Oh.
We did some school, then we split to finish school here. Had a good run. I mean, it's funny. Tim had the office right next to me, which is...
Wow. And Nike owns Converse.
Yeah, so it was cool.
Okay.
And then after a while, I was just like, I don't like this corporate stuff anymore. And Converse is even more... Adidas is kind of mellow.
Right.
Converse is meetings.
Wow.
And you get stuff done, and we did the stuff with Tyler that was super fun. We had
that's right,
fun projects.
Yeah.
But at some point, I was like, I just don't want to work for a big company because you either have to dive in at that last kind of 15 years of your work life and say I'm going to do it and drink the Kool-Aid, or you have to be like, keep the stocks, keep the whole thing. I'm out. And then they're always like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm not happy here anymore. And then it becomes the normal, like, how can we? I was like, you didn't do anything wrong. It's all good. Like, no bad vibe. I'm not going to work for the competitor, but I'm out. And I wanted to move back to LA. And then randomly enough, Adidas then called me back and they're like, oh, you're in LA. Will you consult? Will you work? I was like, I don't want to do full time anymore. Thank you. But I'll consult. So I still actually help them.
Wow. Did you guys do the Off-White Converse?
Yes.
Those are sick.
We did those. We did. I mean, all the energy stuff. Myself and my team worked on with Tim, and there was designers. It wasn't my thing, but we had a good team at Converse.
Yeah.
We had a good team at Adidas too, but Converse was a little bit smaller and more stealth.
Wow. So Converse is smaller than Adidas, obviously. Though.
Converse is around $2 billion. I think Originals itself is like 10 to 15 billion.
Damn.
And I don't know what it could be bigger by now.
So it never worked at Nike.
I've worked with them on projects as a consultant back before I worked. Like they'd hire me to do things. Never worked there.
Yeah.
And I thought of it. I like living in LA.
Yeah.
Portland's just not my thing.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Portland, but
it's my dream to go to the Nike spot there, though. It's
sick.
The whole campus.
Oh, the campus is amazing. They do great stuff. I have a lot of friends that work there.
Yeah.
But I like LA.
It's crazy that Stüssy's still as massive as it ever was now, it seems like.
I think it's doing well right now.
It made it through the times of everything, you know?
Yeah, it's a solid brand. Since it's privately owned, they don't have to ever like, hey, let's grow. They're like, we're cool. Let's just keep on making some money.
Yeah. Are the stores in Japan still?
Yes.
Wow. Are you still involved at all, a part of that at
all?
I'm
friends with them, but I'm not involved on working. I mean, we're doing a project with them on an exhibition we're doing in China, but that's just them making a T-shirt. Okay. So we're all friendly, but I don't have any work to do with them.
Yeah. We part of like the Gangstar shirt, all the stuff they did back then too.
Yeah, stuff is great.
Wow.
Well, myself, there was always a team, and we had a little office in LA that was like the people that worked on that stuff.
Yeah. Was it MTV Raps collab or something?
They did that. There was a guy, Adam, that worked with me, and he kind of was good moving through the record industry to get licensing done.
Yeah. It's crazy how big streetwear is now, though. Just like it's a thing. It's like even Hypebeast is like it's a word. It's not just a website. And it was just a website before, and now it's just like this whole. It's crazy how far it's come. You know what I mean? How long stuff's lasted.
I think it's also it's basically the uniform that we all wore in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same stuff, just a little bit different.
Yeah. And there's so many brands now too.
Yeah, there's a ridiculous amount of brands.
So Stüssy's still the same owner.
Yes.
Wow, man! I'm sure he got crazy offers throughout this whole thing.
Oh, I think people have probably tried to buy it. I just don't think they're interested.
Wow.
But also, like, he knows when you sell your brand, it's not really your brand. And it's someone else's. Even if you stay on, it could be cool for 2 or 3 years, but he probably wants to protect the people that work there.
Yeah.
Once a brand comes in, they can rip the thing apart.
Yeah.
Or start bringing in their people. Who knows? It can go wrong.
Yeah. And you were skating with all the downtown kids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And Knew Harold Hunter and everybody. And
Bruno, Harry.
Yeah.
The usual suspects. Yeah. I mean, they were obviously a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
But I have funny pictures of Harold and Hamilton in front of Phat Farm. Like,
wow.
Everyone just knew each other.
I would see him at the clubs. We see him at Sheets and Pillows, and sometimes he'd pull up to CB's on a skateboard, just coming by a matinee show. Like he was in the mix everywhere. He was always around.
He was a downtown kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's from like the projects on Avenue D.
Yeah. What's her face's doc is incredible. The 90s one, Punky Brewster. Yeah.
I didn't see that.
So it's incredible. It's all that captured in there, man.
What is it on?
It's on Hulu.
Yeah.
I have to check.
There's a lot of really good footage
of everybody hanging back then.
Because she had a camera the entire time filming.
Yeah, I mean, there's a movie came out like a few weeks ago that Eli did about skateboarding and hip hop. I saw half of that, and then apparently there's a movie at Tribeca about kids.
Okay.
That Hamilton that was in it directed it. Heard it was good.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie about Ricky Powell there. Like I looked at the Tribeca and I was like, what's going on here?
Right.
Wow, that's awesome.
But I missed them all. So I guess you can screen them, and I slept on it, so I'll wait till they're out.
Right.
I'm sure they'll be on Hulu or Netflix within a year.
Did you ever think about doing a documentary about your life at all? Or
nah.
people ask you about it at all? No.
I don't even do. I think I've done this twice.
Sick. Thanks for being here. You don't really do that stuff. Right?
Eli actually did a video, and I was like, dude, I really don't want to do this. He's like, you have to. So I did that, but I don't. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, you're pretty like off the grid kind of guy, right?
I'm happy to talk. I'm more happy to help people and talk about like. I mean, we all. I think our age group and being in New York or LA at that time, you just fell into cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it can sound really like, hey, you're making this up, but you're like, no. On Friday night, Red Alert was DJing and Wu-Tang Clan performed. And you're like, that was just Friday night.
Yeah, just randomly showed up. Yeah.
I mean, I'm making it up, but that's
it's true though.
Or you're like, oh. Like even the Beastie Boys area, you're like, it's Fishbone, Murphy's Law, and the Beastie Boys on tour at Irving Plaza. You're like, yeah, and they played 5 nights.
Right.
You were probably there 5 nights.
Yeah, totally.
And people would think you're making it up, but then it was like next week was something.
Yeah, even just like seeing Joey Ramone walking down the street by my house. That was just I was just Joey Ramone, like he's walking in his neighborhood, or going to CB's and then a night go to Limelight to the hip hop room and Brooklyn Dom's DJing, or somebody's performing that night. Like you do so much.
It's just random.
Day. I know. I guess it was it was just that time, you know what I mean? It was very special.
Or like even walking down Broadway, you're like there's a truck with big speakers, and you're like, oh, it's Run DMC and their Bronco. Like and back then it was like a Bronco speakers, and it was like it's those guys and like the hat, and you're like, this is insane, but that was just New York.
Yeah. True. I'm sure he has all kinds of people coming to the Phat Farm too.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, I just couldn't believe
the photo shoots.
Like the people are coming through. It'd be from like Penny Marshall to like Biggie.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
You'd like ran like, oh, that's Laverne. I was like, holy to like Seal or Heidi Klum. It was like random.
I remember one day I was working. I think it was closing up, and I was on the floor putting that lockdown. And I look up, it was Christy Turlington and like
all
was
of
it? I don't Ethan. It was one like. One of those actors was like her boyfriend at the time. And I was like, this is random, like at Phat Farm.
Damn.
A lot of the supermodels I had to go deliver stuff to.
Oh, his wife was in that world too. That's why.
Yes. Later on, yeah.
And then funny, I'd go to Russell's house for meetings. He lived on 4th Street above Towers.
Yeah.
And then you go there and like Glenn Friedman was always there.
Yeah.
Which was another weird, it was like, so I knew Glenn from skateboarding and I knew him from, but then like he would just hang there and watch baseball. You're like, what?
Wow.
Yeah. And he's,
And this is Glenn, like kind of cantankerous, early Glenn being Glenn, but punk rock Glenn, skate Glenn, hip hop Glenn. Then that's where you start in the vegan part of him. And that was, he was kind of early on that, but like, it's Russell's house. There's like pork chops. And I was like, just what's going on here?
Wow. Fast forward to Russell being vegan.
Yeah, completely.
Was Phat Farm was that huge? Like
it wasn't huge, but it was good. But what happened is they made some mistakes. So it kept on having to be bailed out by someone. 'Cause I think the record labels, I guess Sony ultimately was like, we can't afford this to fail.
Okay.
I mean, it was crazy. It was a lot. I was curious, like, how are they making money? Because there were so many like giveaways of like every hip hop artist, every artist or whoever. They're just like, give it away, give it away, give it away. In the end, it kind of makes sense because I mean, there was people were wearing it, and people are like, oh my god, and only that location.
Then it started. I think I was gone by then. Then it started selling to like Bloomingdale's or maybe I don't know. But
that's.
But I think all of us were gone by that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I
another
remember
company.
Eli was like pretty much out the door right when I was fired.
I mean, Eli was gone. Ollie moved to California to do drawers and dub. I was going to Stüssy and still finishing college. So I was the first to bail. I was like, this is. I didn't even know what toxic meant, but I was like, this place wasn't cool. And I mean, Ollie's one of my best friends, and we were cool, but it got us like bickering, and I was like, but we didn't even know what was going on.
Right.
So we're honestly just kids.
Yeah.
And it was like, they'd pay you enough to kit, but it was like in hindsight, you're like,
it's great salary.
Wow, everything. We should have got paid. I'm a bum, but like, hey, we'll give you $200 a week. You're like, okay, I can buy. And you thought that was great. You're like, I could buy pizza.
Then,
oh wow,
yeah.
Or like, we're gonna fly to somewhere. Really, you gonna buy us a flight?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I got in. It was pretty good. I mean, I was like, oh wow, I was like, there's a salary.
Yeah, like they'd buy lunch for this. You sit there like, oh, what do you want for lunch? You're
benefits.
like from Olives or something. Like, oh, free sandwich. This is amazing.
What's your benefits? You had benefits and shit back then?
I had some type of benefit. I can't remember, but it was decent. Like it was a good. I mean, I didn't have a job, so I was like, this is easy. I mean, I was working at clubs at night, like doing the door, like in downtown, and then. But it was great. I mean, as far as money wise and stuff like that, but I was like. Hard work. I mean, I never had a day off. I always was there.
Yeah.
But I remember also I'd work there during the day and then work at restaurants at night.
Yeah.
To make enough. I mean, not in a bad way, but in reality, I'm like, I shouldn't have to work 2 jobs.
I don't know why I was working 2. It's like I was really just like,
I'd work 3-4 nights at a restaurant, and then at some point I was like, I'm just making more money here. Like, Phat Farm is just weird. I was like, I'm just going to do the restaurant thing.
Yeah, I was at Nana across the street from you.
Yeah.
And I was roadieing, just doing shit like that, like just doing weekend shows with people, but.
Yeah, but it was a crazy mix of people, and there was always like those parties that they'd have at the end of the year.
Oh, yeah, weird Christmas party by the seaport.
Right. It's just like everybody there.
Like shrimp cocktails and Snoop Dogg and just random.
It was.
Did you ever want to start your own thing, like your own?
No, and I remember those parties. We'd all come like wearing polo and stuff. Like that was the era. It was kind of funny. Yeah. And then like you get there and it was like Bones Thugs and Harmony or something, and like. Jail suits, and you're like, they were looking at us like, why? It was before that clicked off, and then like a few years later, you saw people went to wearing that and North Face and outdoor stuff. But it was like those Def Jam parties were still like hip hop in that era.
Yes,
like like very Source magazine outfits, like funny stuff.
I remember I had friends that were like. From New York, and they're like, "You're seriously working at Phat Farm?" Like,
it was
like
fun.
Hardcore kids, And I was like, "All right, yeah, I am." And they're like, "All right, that's cool.
It pays the bills."
Yeah,
that was your shit back then, though.
No, it was. I mean, they were just like, "Holy shit, you move here and you start working at Phat Farm." They're like, "That's hilarious, man."
Who started wearing those 555 sole sock hats? Those hats with the ties?
It's funny. I spoke to Camille the other night for the first time in years, and that came up. And they had a store in like. I don't think it's Orchard or Ludlow.
Naughty by Nature was rocking that shit, though.
They blew that shit.
They made the like beads with the clay.
Yeah.
They had a cool little scene.
The sock hats were like almost like sleeves ripped off, and then they had the tie.
The stripy ones, the big patch on them.
Oh my god.
Yeah, 555 was big back then. There was so many fucking brands though.
They had a cool little thing there. Fresh Drive, extra large.
Extra large.
Who was it that really set off the whole like corporate or like clothing and music, like to combine those two? Like, man, this artist can sell a lot of our stuff. Like, what was like the first?
I mean, I don't know formally, but I think the Beasties tour merchandise for License to Ill was like no one even knew, but it was like that became this like uniform.
Wow.
It was like Hayes did the logo's sick.
Yeah, it's sick.
They were going on tour, probably decent sized venues.
Hell yeah.
And there's a lot of white kids that were psyched on Beastie Boys t-shirts and hats.
True.
So I think that was. I don't think anyone knew it, but I would assume they were selling like arena rock level of like what I'm making it like Boston was sold in the set. Like, hey, we just sold 100,000 t-shirts.
Damn, that's true actually.
And then I think then they thought they could commercialize it by starting extra large.
Yeah,
but I think the music thing always lagged because you always get stuck working with like a shitty merch company.
100%.
Right.
So you're kind of like, we have good ideas, and like, man, we can't make that for you.
Yeah.
I mean, now I guess Bravado's a bit better, but I've never heard anyone be like psyched on their merch deal.
That's true actually.
Yeah.
I want to say too, the Beastie Boys were the first to set it off for like maybe they weren't, but like just wearing thrift shop clothes and random vintage tees, like OG hipsters, like before it became a thing. Now, you know what I mean? Like
they dressed kind of the same. It was like three kids from down. I mean, that's how everyone dressed downtown. You had like an army jacket, a champion sweatshirt, sneakers, or boots for the winter. If you even had boots for the winter, I never had boots for the winter, and I survived.
And like random T-shirts and random like
you stole a sweatshirt from a girlfriend's house.
Yeah.
Then finally, maybe you'd buy like a down jacket, like some money. I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah,
something like that. Or wow, I've done a good year.
Remember that?
FUBU.
No, the triple. What they had like the goose jackets, the triple down.
Delancey Street jackets.
Delancey Street jackets. Yes.
But I don't know who. I mean, I think in a way Stüssy had a lot to do with the musicians liked Stüssy, but it wasn't formal,
right?
Because it was always like the Goldies and Big Audio Dynamite.
Figure out like when did that become big? It was like there were no like I don't know athletes that they were using. No. Sports figure, yeah. So, but music, I don't know.
I saw Trap Called Quest wearing Stüssy, I think back then.
Yeah, I have a picture of Jerobi wearing a hat.
Right.
Okay.
But I think the first thing when I go back is probably like the Fubu's and Walker Wear and Puffy and Sean John, because that was basically they were making stuff for the hip hop community.
Right.
It was owned by them or maybe I don't know the whole business of it, but they always had, when you watch those documentaries, like with the April Walker woman, I don't know, but she's like, Biggie wore this stuff, Tupac wore this stuff. I was like,
they did.
And I don't think she even paid them. It was just like, oh, I want to be down. And I think that was the beginning of, and then you had the people, when you started looking at the source, you're like, oh God, this is going kind of sideways.
Yeah. And Kanai? Was it Kanai?
Yeah, and then Walk.
Oh, yeah.
Jerbo jeans?
Jerbo was, oh my God.
And then I think in a way then Nike got popular and it was like that became like where you'd spend your money on sneakers. But I don't know. I don't know who the first brand was, but it's around that era, and I think it's around the hip hop scene of like let's start clothing companies.
Yeah,
because it's not like punk bands or rock and roll bands. Like let's start it. Maybe Jimmy Buffett had a Hawaiian shirt company or something.
Maybe.
And I think the difference is too like there's a quote I saw that someone say in a movie. I'm blanking on what it was, but he's like. They were in a New York band in the 90s. They were like, we just wanted to play music. Mm-hmm. Like, we wanted to go tour and, have our music career. They're like, in his eyes, and he's from downtown, he was like, the hip-hop scene had no problem just going for the gold. Like, give us a big deal. Let's go buy jewelry. Let's get a car. Let's get let's do big videos. Yeah. And he's like, to him, the punk kind of indie rock scene was like, we just want to tour, maybe do Lollapalooza or, as a company, and keep on going.
Yeah.
And I think it was just a shift. And then maybe like, when some bands like Nirvana and that went to Geffen, more money started going into indie deals. Mm-hmm. Before then, there was no there was no huge 7-figure deal for a band of that level. And
then I saw something recently. I don't know if you can even answer, but I saw Jim Jones talking about how their photo shirt that Kenneth did set it off. Like they're the ones that brought hip hop to Supreme. Like they talk about it all the time. How like. That was the connection into the hip hop world. Was that they were the first T-shirt? I guess the photo of them.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jules Santana.
I know the T-shirt.
But coming from New York, hip hop and punk rock and skateboarding was all meshed together anyway. I feel like during that time.
But if you were from downtown,
if
you're from uptown, you're like, what are these guys on the funny things with wheels? Like, it's, we do skate in the Bronx and stuff, and no one vibed us. But it was like, there's no skateboarding.
Yeah,
right.
But I also think the Zoo York thing with that first mixtape they did. Because it was like the Stretch and Bobbito show, and it was like that was a pretty interesting time.
Okay.
Because like before it even got cool, you had Harold's and their team.
Sean Sheffy?
Yeah, totally.
And
then obviously when Dub and Drawers and DC, they were very aware of what was going on. Then Girl and Chocolate's team was always. So I think if you knew, you knew. It's like punk rock to hip hop was just music that kids liked.
Yeah.
And there everything mixed. But I don't think it's like that everywhere. But later it became the norm.
Yeah. Especially in the skate videos back then, it was only punk rock music.
Yeah.
Those Thrasher cassettes. That's
true.
Yeah.
True.
Skate rock and shit. Like, that was the soundtrack.
They were great.
Yeah.
And then I think Fishbone kind of crossed some lines.
Ooh,
True. Definitely.
And then, not completely my world, but like Fishbone, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like, when they came to tour, you're like, let's go, because it's kind of close to what we know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean,
even Living Color, too.
Totally.
Like,
no, definitely. I mean...
The bodysuits.
Like the whole big thing is like really weird. It's like how Jordan, really when Michael Jordan shoes came out, it was like the big connect of like sports figure, and then kind of melted into like the skate world. The people wearing Jordans,
Hassoy cap, bro.
Yeah, I mean, also those shoes, the Jordans did well, but the Dunks didn't sell. So skaters were like, these are kind of fly, in a skate way, but they're $19 at Modell's, so I'm gonna go skating them. And then you see like those 5 years of like we've all seen the pictures.
Yeah,
Mike Valet.
Yeah,
Soy cap. All those dudes are rocking.
Yeah, everyone's wearing.
Everybody.
Nodis.
Yeah,
everybody.
Jordan
Rocky.
And I think that was the thing where skaters were like, we're kind of sick of Vans and Chucks.
Yeah,
all good, but like these are comfortable. They're kind of cool, and I've seen them on album covers.
Yeah,
and then there's no like secret history. It just all converged in those years.
Yeah.
Soy was saying he wasn't getting paid to wear Chucks.
No,
so he started getting some free Nike. So he started wearing that, and then Then they brought him back.
But I just remember, like, back, I was, like, so, like, screw Nike. You know, that's such a corporate brand
Damn,
for like
you were?
skating. I was like, damn
Yeah.
them all. But then I don't know, just kind of felt natural. I was like, oh, Jordans are kind of cool.
And you see Cab wearing it, or like Ray Cap
Yeah.
on Youth of Today,
They started wearing a lot of
and the hardcore dudes started wearing that on stage. Good ankle support.
everybody. Yeah.
It's just crazy. How it matched.
It all meshed. And
Yeah.
it was all. In hindsight, it seems normal, but if you had to like put it together like a chart, you'd have to draw a lot of arrows.
We all came,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So much shit. It just felt like New York was a melting pot for everything, you know?
It really was.
Just there was so
Yeah.
much things going on, so much culture, and all at that time, like, and everything was new too.
And then I think what happens is the New York skaters are like, oh, let's go to San Francisco. And then they met other people that are like, oh, kind of, we never dressed like that. But this, like I talked
Ben Davis.
yeah, that was more like a California thing. But then it's
Hell
like,
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
this,
yeah.
this Nautica stuff's kind of cool. And you see everything change because
Right.
people started traveling.
Yeah.
I mean, my first trips to LA in like the mid 80s, it was like skating Venice. It was like flannels, Dickies, and Chuck.
yeah.
No one on that side of town was wearing sneakers.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's so true, man.
Yeah.
But I want to say New York set it off with Dave's Army Navy with the Carhartts, man. The Carhartt sweatshirt, that was some New York shit that really came in. You know what I mean? When they first came out, they was super thick, like, because Champion was the shit, but then these came out, and then punk hardcore was wearing it, then hip hop was wearing it.
So
fucking-
explain to me how Carhartt rebranded itself in a way where I
Yes.
came back to the U.S. because I hadn't been living
Mad
here.
expensive.
And then I was like, what's up with, why is Carhartt so expensive?
Well, there's two Carhartts. There's the
Okay.
brand
Whip.
from
Yeah.
Detroit or wherever, or Michigan, which is Carhartt.
OG
yeah.
shit.
Then there's this thing called Work in Progress out of Europe, and that's like the store on La Brea, where it's like basically they're like, we love Carhartt, we love the logo, but let's just make it a little bit more
Same
street
company?
It's a license from Carhartt. So the company that owns, and I'm not an expert on it, but there's a company out of Europe. I think they're in Switzerland. No,
wow.
I think they're Swiss. I could be BSing this, but they bought the license, and I believe it's a license. But they're the ones, like if you're in London, the little Misty Carhartt store, or the one on La Brea, or the one on Lafayette.
Yeah.
That's the Work in Progress.
Wow.
So it's like, and they do some legitimate Carhartt things, but usually it's not quite built up as like you don't need to go on an oil rig to wear it. It's a little bit more easier to wear.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff. It's made well. I mean, I have a pair of shorts. It seems like $80 is high, but I've had them for 4 years and they're fine.
Yeah. I always loved Carhartt back then. That was the shit. Like, you get it pretty
No, it
cheap when
was,
it first came out at Dave's
yeah.
Army Navy.
But I
But that
loved
was
it.
like the uniform.
Yeah.
It was.
A hooded
Yeah.
sweatshirt, a MA1, jeans, and sneakers.
And the jean jacket. And
Super
like,
reliable, you know, fantastic.
It's also warm for the winter.
Yeah, absolutely. And affordable.
yeah.
You know, it was affordable.
Even like in, even like in hip hop in the 90s when like flight jackets and Doc Martens became part of the hip hop world too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like
That's
it all
true.
It
Right.
was crazy when everything kind of get into like well, even like shaving your head. Well, that everybody else shaved their head. But they called it the baldy back then.
Right.
But it's also like that's when Onyx came
Onyx,
in.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. It was a whole different. And then moshing and slamming. And
But there's also a
fucking-
video. I forgot. I think it's MOP, which is like a moshing video.
Annie Up? Or
Yeah.
No? Oh, yeah.
It's great.
And those guys played Coney Island High too. A couple
And that's
times.
later. I mean, that video
That's
is
much
like
later.
later.
Yeah, true.
It's not like. I mean, Slam was pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the Slam video for the remix, Bionics mix.
I just thought it
And
was
that-
hilarious. They were on the hockey rink. Like, wasn't there a video where they were playing hockey?
Oh, who?
Onyx? Yes.
Maybe not the Slam, not the Slam one.
No, not the slam
But,
one, but
but we shot that at a Biohazard Onyx show, and there was a video for it. And everybody's moshing on the stage. I remember Redman came and Method Man, I think, were there. And this is way before they ended up diving into crowds.
Yeah,
but they were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
holy shit, people were diving off the monitors, and they're like, they were kind of tripping on like the energy of that video shoot. It's pretty
it definitely
awesome.
brought a whole new energy.
But I love when I see like Method Man diving or walking on the crowd or Redman diving in the crowd. I love all that shit.
But your umbrella's like that era of like hip hop hardcore mashup albums.
Yeah.
And there were some good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always
Judgment-
like a
Judgment
movie for
Night.
yeah, but there was some good stuff.
There
Yeah.
was.
And I would say Public Enemy was not that they called themselves punk. When they came out, they were so punk rock
I
to
mean,
me.
the attitude was
The
definitely-
lyrics is everything, and like I feel like and they knew what was up with that because there's a famous photo that Glenn and Freeman took of them wearing Minor Threat shirts. Like, I don't
I
know.
think they're pretty. I think those guys are super smart.
Yeah. But like they knew what was up with I think back then, but them coming out, I think that opened a lot of people's minds too, as far as punk rockers who only listen to punk rock. Like, oh shit, these guys are pretty fucking punk, like lyrically in their whole message, you know.
And also that first album, sonically, it was pretty challenging. It didn't sound like a hip hop record.
No, it was so.
Even today, if you
Was
play
that
it,
with
you're
98
like
Oldsmobile?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like
dude.
super aggressive and just
Time Bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I just remember hearing it the first time. I was like, I love this. You know, it was like there was no like challenge to my mind.
I actually had it took me some time to get used to it.
Oh yeah.
because I'd never heard anything like it.
Yeah. I know. I remember when like gangster rap came out, and it took me some time to get my head around. I was like, "Well, what's up with this West Coast shit?" You know.
To me, I was still like that. It's like it was still a kind of traditional beat, like and kind of like West Coast, like lowrider kind of lyrics, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, NWA was kind of wild the first time I heard it, but but it wasn't sonically as challenging. Where Public Enemy, those first 3 albums, you're like, this is insane, and also it's a different era.
Yeah,
there was no sample problems.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's true.
I mean, Bomb Squad, they just sampled whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
Now you couldn't make that album now.
Yeah,
No.
there's no way.
Is it true that the Paul's Boutique is like one of the most sampled records in hip hop?
I think so.
And they got away with that too, right? That was right before all that stuff.
And that was also an interesting thing, is that's like after they blew up, they're like, let's go to LA and make like this very different album that no one knew what to make of.
I know.
Yeah, that took my head to get around. I was like, man, they are all over that.
And then once you listen to it, you're like, okay, it's kind of amazing.
It's fucking amazing. But the way they talk about in the documentary, like how it kind of like tanked in the eyes of the label.
Yeah, I remember it was
it's such a classic though.
Like people were like, I was like, I don't know.
It was such a great. It's like one of my
It was
favorite
way
records.
ahead of their time.
Yes, absolutely.
And do you know that place they took that photo of? Like what like the Paul's Boutique thing?
I think it's just a store.
Okay. Yeah, in Manhattan, right?
No idea.
Did you see Beastie Boys when they first started playing?
Oh yeah.
You saw them in their punk band too?
I did not see it was a punk band. I saw them. I saw them pre-licensed to Ill.
Wow.
Like post Cookie Puss, but they were around. Yauk skated.
Yeah.
I was actually always the closest with Mike.
Okay.
Just because I don't know, he had a roommate that used to be the Clash's roadie that we were cool. He's an English kid, and so we just hung out at Mike's. Again, Mike had a house like on King Street. Like, let's go. Wow, he has his own apartment. You're like, wow, this is insane.
Wow.
And then I hung out a lot with them because they were around, and then went to some of the early shows, traveled a bit to see them, like, and then they just went. So they just disappeared at some point because it went from like, oh, they're playing, I'm making it Irving Plaza to like, a 2-year tour. I mean,
that's the vibe people talk about. Them,
right.
boom.
I think it's fair to say that without them, I don't know what happened to record labels because they made more money at Def Jam than I believe everyone.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm not. I don't think.
No, actually, you're. I mean, from when I was at, everything I saw from the sales, you would know more than I would.
Wow.
But yeah, it seemed that way.
So LL was pretty big, but that was.
It was bigger.
It was bigger because it crossed over.
Yeah, it was bigger than the P album. It was bigger than anything at that.
I mean, they were pre-Ps. I remember going to see them in Miami, and I had the PE cassette, and I was like, and they were like, "Can you leave it?" I was like, "No," and I put it in, and like the guys from Fishbone, everyone wanted to hear it because no one knew because it was like literally I got it like the day before.
Whoa, my god!
Fuck.
And
you still have it?
I probably do somewhere.
Oh my god!
But it was those early like just like yellow cassette with no label or anything.
Wow.
But that Beasties it went glacial. I mean, no one, and then they were touring, and then I think probably had to do their heads in a little bit. Like, we're really popular, but we've been on tour for 2 years. Like, it'd be cool just to go home for a minute.
Yeah.
And then I think, it's all in the documentary.
Yeah.
So then they were like, they had their problems with, I don't know exactly the whole thing. Like, we're out, we're going to Capitol.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure they got I'm sure they got jerked, but
who's your boss? I'm just kidding.
But I think I'd like to. I should go rewatch it because I didn't.
So good, and like how they were kind of bummed how like the things they made fun of they were becoming on that tour, like having to feel like they have to drink every night and have this crazy stage show and become the thing. Like when they talk about that, I was like, holy shit! Like, and the pressure from the label. And that's
to go, because that was the cash cow.
Yeah. And to do another thing just like that. Now we're gonna make Paul's Boutique. I thought that was so cool. They just did.
But there's also, I think, how many labels do you think were like, we need a Beastie Boys act,
dude?
And there just wasn't one.
There wasn't.
Never again.
There was nothing. Like
nothing, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Todd Youth and me tried to start a band.
Really?
Because he used to hang out at, he was around.
Hell yeah.
And he's like, we hung out, and he's like, we should start a band. I was like, I don't know anything about. He's like, you DJ? Right? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, you can be the DJ. I think we had a few rehearsals and it fell apart pretty quick.
Incredible fucking musician, human man. Shout out to Todd Youth, man.
I love Todd.
It's just a funny time. Also, you're kind of in a way. We became friends.
Yeah.
You're kind of part fanning out because he was at that point of his career of like, oh, you're the dude from that band. He's amazing.
Yeah. Everything. Murphy's Law, Warzone,
I was a
dude.
huge fan.
And I was friends with Jimmy and stuff, but it was a different kind of friendship. Like, we're all cool, but it's like, you want to start a band? In hindsight, it's a good story as people like, really? You're going to do a band with him? But it was like, he's like, I think I want to get paid off this hip hop thing, but I still want to play my music.
Yeah. So he played. You guys rehearsed, and you played. What did you play?
I just DJ'd with it. It was a shit show. It was what you'd think. It was like we didn't know. And then
was there a singer, or was just him shredding with you?
No, just shredding. And I think at
Wow.
some point maybe they were thinking of Joe Bruno was going to maybe MC or something.
Joe Bruno. Shout out to Joe Bruno. He listens to the podcast. That's my man. Shout out to Joe Bruno.
And then that's all.
Awesome.
Also, I was probably we're all at partying too much. It all fell apart.
Yeah. Wow, man, that would be fucking crazy. So you never did anything musically, right?
No, I DJ'd all the time in clubs, but that's not really music.
But never tried playing instruments or anything like that, or no?
No, I'm just not good at it.
And were you a good skater too?
I was good, not great.
You could get around and shit.
Oh yeah, I mean I could skate. I can go to a park or Brooklyn Banks and show up. But I was I was not on the high end of the spectrum of like. I watch people now and I'm just like, you're kidding me.
It's so insane now, man, and they're so young too. Like it just starting way younger than we started.
Yeah,
I mean, I was fearless in my own right then, but now it's a whole new level. Like I was never 30 steps curb like rail thing fearless.
Neither, man.
It's like okay, I'm good.
You do kick?
Right.
You make it to the kick flips?
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I can't even do a kick flip. Were you a crazy party guy in New York?
I went out, but I wasn't a party guy. Like I didn't. When I was younger, I didn't really have any cash to think of. I was like, maybe I'd drink a beer. Like it was like money for a token back and forth, and maybe someone would give you a drink ticket, like I'd get a beer, and then someone have a joint. That's about it.
That's about all you did, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely dabbled in other stuff when I was later, but never got into any trouble. I think as you make money, you're like, hey, there's drugs out here, we can do them, but I just never liked them. I've definitely gone in and out of drinking phases, which I'm out of one now, so I think that became my vice. But none of them are great for you.
Are you a sober person now?
For now, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not easier said than done, but I'm a few weeks in. I hit my meetings and stuff.
Well, wow.
Nice.
So it's good. It's also a nice support system. So sometimes I forget that you're like, you can stop doing this and people will help you.
Yeah.
100%.
Oh, definitely.
Were you a crazy drinker? Or just like one like every day?
More than I should.
Okay.
Yeah, more than one, not 50.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you call it a functioning alcoholic. You get by, everything's cool until you're like, this isn't healthy.
Yeah, it never affected your work or nothing.
No, I mean, I think it might have affected home life sometimes, just being a bit like being a jerk, but not to the point. I mean, and I think you just have to realize with that, like, there's people that can help you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's not like
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, like any country, any city, and now it's on Zoom, so I'm just like, really, I don't have to drive anywhere.
Sick.
I mean, it's nice to be in person, but like since I've restarted going to meetings, it's all Zoom.
Yeah.
And then you fall back into it. You go to someone, you see your friends that have either been on since you went 20 years ago, or they've slid out, and you just realize everyone has the same problems.
Yeah. How long have you been sober for now, drinking, Derek?
I don't know, almost 2 years.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. It's gone by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Once you get in the swing of things, it's just, I find traveling gets hard. So at home, I can regulate my life pretty well.
Absolutely.
When you're on a plane, you're like, what am I going to do for 10 hours? Or in a hotel room, or you're in a city, you're like, it's late, you're jet lagged. You're like, oh, I want to go see my friends. And you're like, let's go to a bar. You're like, I don't want to drink a bottle of water.
Yeah.
But you do, and you get iced tea or something. And
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, when I listen to people who are alcoholics and talk about their story and stuff, I don't think I was. Because I mean, they talk about like that one drink, and that just being endless. There's no bottom to it. And I was just like, I don't know if I felt that way. Like it was pretty easy for me to like, just health wise. I was just like, I feel horrible, and I was like, I'm not gonna drink anymore and pay to feel bad anymore.
Yeah.
I wake up, feel better,
right?
More active.
Everything was just like the list of like positives of not drinking were so much higher than drinking. Drinking wasn't doing anything for me.
Yeah.
I was spending a lot of money for it, and I felt horrible. And it just wasn't fun anymore. My body was like, you've had enough. Depression was setting in after drinking. Like, I was like a happy drunk. People are like, man, you were awesome. Man, talkative. And I would never be like, there were times it was just like blackout where it's just like, that's not good. But it was just way too much. I would drink, and I'd like to drink a fair amount, but I would be, okay. Like people are like, oh, you can function.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But then there was those times it would just go over like, oh man, you were bad.
Was it hard to quit?
No, absolutely super easy. That's why I say, and I'm never thinking like, oh man, I wish I could have. I never really think that way. I don't know. It's just, I just remember how I felt when it was bad. Every time I'm thinking like, oh, it'd be nice to have a beer. And it's like, no, I already can feel that would not be good.
And when you get older, is it
It got worse for me.
When
As
you
I
get
got
older,
older,
it's
it was just
hard,
like just the feeling of it was like,
Yeah, I think it gets worse.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Like how you feel the next day, you mean? The hungover and shit?
Oh, yeah, there's a point that everyone's different physiology, but I think the hangover thing just goes. But you're like, it's not like you're 20 and you're like, I could buy a 6-pack or a 40. Now it's like I'm going to get a bottle of whiskey or you have to have more cash, or you're going to go to a bar with your friends. And you're like, I can spend $50. You know, or you just didn't when you were younger. At least I didn't.
Yeah.
And then is it at home? Are you alone doing it? There's so many variables.
That's so very true.
Because like if you're it's not right or wrong, but if you're at a bar with your friends, you're like, sure, that's what you do at a bar. Or at a restaurant, you're like, oh, I want a glass of wine. But if you're at home, like just pouring off cocktails, you're like, I don't know if this is good.
By yourself, right.
But that happens. And
yeah.
And again, I think it's relative. I think some people think 2 drinks, and I'm not an expert on it.
Yeah.
Some people are drinking 2 bottles a day. It's like a chain smoker. You know, it's like, I don't know I don't think there's a rule of what it is. And obviously there's the DUI stuff, there's numbers. But everyone that drinks probably is well past those numbers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Did you start drinking at an early age?
No.
Wow. So later on in life.
Later on in life. Again, as a kid, beer once in a while, didn't love the taste.
Yeah.
It's New York. It's like someone always had a joint. You're like, that's cool, but it was just growing up in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And then it kind of stopped. And then older, you're the same thing. You're like, you're dating, and you're like, let's go to wine and get a bottle of wine. I mean, I'm making a narrative up. Or you work at a restaurant. You're like, hey, at the end of the night, who's bartending? You're like, here's a cocktail. Let's go out. And you're like, it's free, sure.
Yeah. That's.
Did you guys smoke Phillies blunts? Remember that?
I did.
I did.
I had the Philly Blunt T-shirt.
Yeah, I remember those shirts. I know. I'm saying that shit was
It was just like cigar paper. It was like this.
It was in songs, like everything. It was huge.
Stash and Futura did the Philly Blunt shirt.
Was that a New York brand or something?
Yeah, it was this dude Gerb that used to be around New York. Like he was around the Clash and lived St. Mark's dude.
Damn.
He had an office, and then Futura and Stash made that thing, and they smoked a lot of weed in that office.
Okay.
But then that was also that like Onyx era, because then everyone in hip hop wanted a Phillies Blunt T-shirt.
I know, dude. It was fucking huge.
It's like Cypress Hill, Funk
Yeah.
Dubious.
You're right.
House of Pain. Everyone.
Phillies blunt when I want to stunt. I mean, I can hear it in songs. It just
It's just that era.
Wow, man.
But
that's the first kind of like, whatever they call it now. Remember that kid walked by and asked if you had one of those?
Oh, if you had what did he
White
say?
Owl?
I was like,
White Owl? No.
Dutch Masters.
Dutch Master.
Did he say? But he used
some
another terminology, and I was like, I don't understand what
He
you're
was
saying.
so old. Some kid asked him for one.
I was like, we are old. And he's like, yo, you got a
I don't know what it's called, though, man.
Not
But
a tree?
But that's
trees? No.
That's like the newest. That's like now.
Well, I think now you can buy pre-cut sheets.
Oh
I don't
my
know.
god, really? I'm
Sure.
I'm sure.
It's big business.
Wow.
I never liked it. I was just like, this is cigar paper, and you're not supposed to inhale that. It's filled with like nicotine, where it was just stronger than the weed.
But they looked cool in
It
pictures.
was
looked
so
cool,
fucking
yeah.
popular back
I was
then,
like,
right?
hell no.
I don't know where that shit even comes from, man.
It's nasty, man.
So
Sorry. But I was just like,
So you never wanted to rhyme anything part of that shit.
I just wanted to hang out.
Yeah. You seem so chill and mellow. Yeah, it's like.
And what's going on
You
now?
did your thing.
What type of work are you doing now?
More of the same. I work for a bunch of different companies. I guess you call it a consultant.
Okay.
So I'm busy, but I work alone. My wife helps on some things.
Wow.
She works as well, but I'm literally like, I have a desk in my house. Mm-hmm. I don't want people, or I don't want a staff.
Right.
Now that people are out and about, like there's meetings again, but I could do a lot from home or a phone call. Mm-hmm. I can get a lot of shit done just on this thing.
Totally.
Right.
So still doing stuff with Adidas.
Still doing stuff with Adidas. I mean, what happened there is Pharrell asked me to come back because I had brought him in and it was getting squirrely, and we're close. So he's like, you're kind of out of work, because I left for some different reasons.
Okay.
But he's like, well, yeah, just come back. And he's, a few days later, they're like, okay, hire you back.
Wow, man.
And then just random people have looked out. So
Yeah.
It's been good. I mean,
Is this line called Human something? Yeah, they're dope.
Human Race.
Yeah, it's great, man.
He's done a good thing. I mean, he's doing cool stuff.
He kills it, right?
Yeah, super nice guy. We were in the studio 2 weeks ago in Miami to listen to the new record. It's nuts.
His new record?
Yeah, it'll be out in the fall.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
And Tyler's record came out last night.
I've always liked Pharrell. He seems like
He's just in a good spot.
Like a positive dude.
Oh,
from
super.
Virginia.
And he's great. When he's in the studio watching him work, the guy's just good at what he
And his
does.
production, he did so many great things, man.
Yeah.
Clips, Jay-Z, so many things, man. Like,
I mean, this album's him and Chad again, but there's probably like 20 people on it.
I love the last Nerd record.
Oh,
I went and
he's
saw him
great.
perform at Kimmel. My son loves that record. Like,
He's great.
album,
Super nice guy.
And does he skate?
He's skating again. If you look at
Wow.
Instagram, there's a picture of him and his son on their ramp.
Nice.
Oh, she's got
His older son.
He has a half pipe.
I believe it's in their backyard. I haven't been to their new
Sick.
house, but
Wow.
if it's not there, it's nearby. I'm sure it's somewhat
That's
private.
I like how I didn't even know he had a kid. Like I love how private he is too.
He has 4 kids.
I just love that. How
Yeah.
I didn't even
You
know
never today even seeing one in a picture, you're like, they're never in pictures.
Yeah, I love that, man. I respect it so much. And that's just like a humble dude from Virginia. He doesn't even live in L.A., right?
Miami.
Sick. Like, I love that about him, dude.
He didn't like L.A.
Wow.
He just
like Miami, okay.
He just does his thing there, you know what I mean? Like,
I think in Miami, his wife's from Miami.
Okay.
So there's support. He's from Virginia. I think he likes the
Yeah.
weather.
All right.
He likes but he's like, I like the water. I'm like, but the Pacific's here. Different water. I'm like, I'm not going to get into this.
You're right.
I wonder who gave him that nickname, Skateboard P. Was that Jay-Z give that to him? Or
I don't know. I should ask him.
Yeah, I want to
He's just a very nice, well-balanced person.
Yeah.
Does great stuff. Does good things for the world.
Yeah, man.
He's a pretty good spot.
I think it was a big part of skateboarding coming into the hip-hop, too, as well. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that, too. I know Lil Wayne skates as well, but
Definitely.
back then, Pharrell was, like, very part of that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Bring
without
that
a doubt. I mean, the videos that they had, too, you know, I was like, oh, wow, that's cool that they have skaters in it. And
BMX.
yeah.
Even like the
BMX,
first,
yeah.
the grinding video, it's like BMX, guys on bikes and
Yeah.
skaters.
Oh, that's
but I think
right.
that's just how you grow up.
Yeah.
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 I don't know Virginia that well, but I think it's kind of a beach community. You probably kids have skateboards and scooters. And
But I was happy to see that a lot more, you know, especially like growing up in Cleveland, and there's so many like stereotypes attached to BMX or skateboarding.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's mostly like a lot of like white kids doing that, but it's great seeing that spread out. When I saw that, I was like, cool. You know, I wasn't the only one that was into BMX, you know.
Yeah.
yeah, the world's completely. I mean, it's open. I think skateboarding's very populist.
Yeah.
It's pretty affordable.
Huge.
Yeah, now it's huge. I mean,
it's
I used to get
insane,
made
man.
fun of, you know. It was just like,
Yeah, back then,
get
right?
a car.
Back then?
Yeah. He's skating this high school.
And I also think that was a big part of New York because I skated in LA a few times. It's pretty white.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's part Latin, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm not being an authority on it. But
Right.
then you go back to New York and you're like, Washington Square Park per se, like,
Oh, yeah.
it's everyone in the city
Everyone,
yeah.
skateboarding.
That's true.
And it didn't have any you were like, hey, you skateboard, let's go, let's roll.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up with Steve Stedman,
That was like like people are like, yo, look, there is other black, you know, skaters. I was
Chuck
like,
Trace.
cool to see Chuck Trace,
Steve Stedman,
Steve Stedham. He had dreads.
Sean
I was like, I'm gonna
Sheffy.
get dreads too.
Yeah, Steve Dunn was great.
Harold, yeah, man.
Steve
So that's
Stedman.
more of a new. That was later on, but the '80s was just like, yeah.
I was just like, yo, dreads. And then
Stedman.
I remember I was like, I'm gonna go dreads because this guy, like my skater friend's like, yo, you should get dreads. Like,
No, he
Steve
was
Stedham.
he was great.
Yeah.
sick logo on his board.
Yeah. I remember it specifically.
Yeah, it was the ace with the
yeah,
dreadlock.
yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to grow them. I remember I got harassed at school. I had to skateboard. I wasn't combing my hair. They're like, boy, you need to comb your hair. And there was just like nonstop, you know, jokes for days. Like, it's like, what's wrong with you?
I
was like, I'm growing dreadlocks. They're like, what?
I feel like some of those first Power logos and shirts was streetwear. Like those amazing
That stuff was
graphics
great.
and
Yeah,
shit, you know what I mean?
it's
Back then.
so cool.
Mark Gonzalez, all the
Oh,
Vision
man, it was
Streetwear, the
amazing.
Gator board.
But he started seeing a lot of this stuff in Thrasher and ads and stuff. And I was like, man, these
looked like
ads. I
fashion.
was like, I need that. I want
Yeah.
that. It was really hard to get to.
The shirt to match your board's graphics and all that shit back then. Like,
But then it was still skate clothes, and I think that's where Stüssy was like, are they from New York? Is it hip hop? Is it West Coast? Is it
Yeah.
reggae? Is it because it didn't look like skate?
it didn't.
It didn't. Yeah.
It didn't. That's a good point.
Yeah.
What was the other one? I'm trying to think of shit that the Christian Story stories were. Jimmy Z.
Jimmy Z.
Jimmy Z was a big one too, right? Was that West Coast?
That's straight Malibu.
Yeah, that's the
Damn,
boo,
man.
bruh.
I didn't know that. But just
That
all that
definitely
stuff.
had that.
Malibu born and bred.
vibe.
Wow.
Jimmy
But-
Z.
And Christian Story was the most fashionable flair.
Oh yeah.
All that
Oh, yeah.
shit, dude.
Over the top.
Like you wanted
Well,
to
there
dress.
was Tony Alva before that.
Of course.
Who was like
Yes.
Of course.
the first like style guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hollywood like
Yeah.
It's cool, man. They
But
brought
the
that
story
swag.
just the cut off sleeves down the
Right.
side, all that shit. Like,
the hat.
The hat. Yeah.
oh, the fucking painter's caps
A lot of the hats.
back then.
It was cool stuff.
Yeah. It's amazing to be around all that and to see how far it's come now.
From jams to.
Jams. You know what I mean? Like being like back then, you being so involved.
Oh, it's
like,
wild just watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think it's still fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And it's still changing. And so many new generations getting involved in it. And
It's also a business now. I mean, it's like back then we were joking like $200 a week. Now it's like there's people that's what pays the bills.
yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Are there
Yeah.
any favorite brands that you have now? Like, or you just.
I just don't. Not to be. I just don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in LA. I wear a t-shirt, shorts, and a sweatshirt if it's or a Patagonia thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if I start traveling again, I'll have to like go in my closet and find some clothes. I mean, I got clothes.
Do you have a
but
lot of shoes?
I don't have a lot of shoes. Whenever I move, I get rid of a lot of shit.
Okay.
And also, lots of times I'm leaving a company, so I'm like, I can't wear it. I'm like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I like that.
I also just don't want to. If I see something I want, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm that fiending for stuff.
Yeah.
Got it.
And people will send me shoes. I mean, people are pretty generous for me, but
Yeah.
I just also can't be that guy. Like, I'm 54. I can't be up in the latest. It's just not. I just don't want to be that confused with like
I know.
aged hype beast.
Thank you for giving me the Stüssy Air Force Ones. Though. Thank you.
Those are good.
The vegan joints are sick.
Yeah.
And I love that Adidas is doing like vegan sambas, vegan shelter, all this
All
shit.
of it.
Now.
I think it's great.
Fucking crazy,
You know.
man. I just saw Nike has pineapple Air Force Ones coming.
I saw those.
Pineapple skin Air Force Ones.
There's the mushroom leather.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff happening.
I think it's great that they're really, stepping to the future.
It's going to take some more time because those materials are still expensive, but
Right.
it's common practice. Like I've sat in enough meetings in those brands that like sustainability is a big conversation.
Good.
It's just going to take a little bit more time to really perfect it because a lot of people just really nice idea, but it's more expensive.
Pharrell stuff's like that too, though. I think
Yeah.
it's super.
He's getting more into it. I think some of the new human race stuff are getting those conversations are about different leathers, but even like the mushroom, you can't quite dye them as well. So there's a lot to be learned. Then obviously knitted uppers and how you can do soles and recycle them.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you put all those brands together, some pretty smart people working
Definitely.
there.
I mean,
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. The Air Jordan Air Jordan 1s canvas.
I don't even mind paying a little bit
Those
more
OG
just so
vegans.
that there's an option out there.
There's options, and I think
know.
obviously it's gonna get bigger and
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
It's like health food or stuff. It's just
Right.
it's
True.
it's not this like secret anymore. Like there's one store 10 minutes away that might be open.
Yeah.
Now you can go to Ralph's and get vegan choices.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
And not
Yeah.
it's not nothing. It's like there's an aisle of it.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
happened relatively quickly.
I mean, even just watching like, dude, this is a crazy one. A few weeks ago, I get home. My wife, I'm in New York. She's like, "Are you sponsored by Beyond Beef?" I was like, "No." I was like, "What do you mean?" She takes a picture. They sent a box. I can't front. It was like
Nice.
3 feet, no, maybe 4 feet. Like I was like, "How much is it?" She's like, "I don't even know what to do with it."
That's so
Why-
cool.
they
Somebody's
just-
laced you up. Yeah, yeah.
No, so I realized someone I know is working with them, making merch for them because they have kind of a cool
Oh,
logo.
nice.
And then I was like, "Oh, can I get some?" Just kind of being a smart ass.
Right.
And like this, dude, it was like 50 pounds worth of food.
Wow,
Like
that's
sausages,
awesome, man.
stuff.
That's awesome.
But now we're like, what do we do with it all? Because it's like you can't.
It's great. Their burgers are
Right.
great, man.
No, they're good, but I'm still an Impossible Burger fan.
Well, I hear
Oh
you. Yeah,
boy,
nice.
there you go.
But even that
I love
kind of
them
stuff,
both.
like
Right.
even
I love
walking into, we shop at Ralph's a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
There's Beyond Meat and Impossible, and there's an aisle of like, I'm not, you know more about than I do, like cheese options and
Yeah.
milk.
Right.
That wasn't that. You couldn't go to a supermarket and get
Hell
stuff.
No, man.
No way. Yeah.
And if you go to, let's be honest, we all like to shop at Erewhon, but I don't.
Nah.
That's a little pricey.
Crazy pricey.
Crazy
man.
pricey. I'll
That
say
meme I
it.
posted,
Every
so-
time I go there, I was like, "This is crazy."
When I first moved back, I was like, oh, I'll get some food and a lemonade or something, and I was like, come on.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? I love this so many. Dude, I do love a Beyond Burger sometimes, and I love an Impossible. I love them both, man.
I go back and
I'm
forth.
glad I have an option for two different ones. Think
Yeah.
about that. We have options.
And there's gonna be more.
Yeah,
I
there's
know,
gonna
man.
be
There's
more.
so many. So
Yeah.
Beyond has some dope merch. I don't even know. I'm gonna check it out.
I gotta take. I'll take a picture when I get home because the box it's like it was kind of a nice box. Like we'll keep it in the garage. We'll use it for storage. But I was
Nice.
like, damn, that's a serious gift box.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
Shout out to Beyond.
Yeah, I'm a little
man.
jealous. Yeah, Beyond.
Yeah, I know.
Beyond
I'm
Meat's the
like,
best. Yeah, that's cool.
So-
But it was a really nice black box, little logo, green word. It's like it was
Yeah.
kind of dialed. They
I
sent
know.
some baseball hats and other stuff.
Nice.
Damn, I wish I put money in those stocks. Like all my
I
friends
know,
did.
man.
I played
was
myself
an
for
idiot.
Beyond stocks,
I was an
man.
idiot. I was like,
We
this-
bought Beyond way early, and we made some cash, but we sold it. But now I'm like, it's like 130 now.
It's crazy.
We bought it
dude.
at like 6 or something and sold it. It was a perfectly good run.
I can't wait till Impossible goes public, man. It's gonna happen
Yeah.
soon. I heard.
I think it will.
It will.
And also, it's wild. Look, even you can go to McDonald's now and get.
Yep.
Who would have thought that 20 years ago?
No, man.
Never would have thought.
Even them having a fish sandwich was like, wow, they sell fish.
Yeah.
Like that was a big move.
And that was.
Remember they got salad, so I was like, oh shit.
I was like, stop. I was like, that salad. I was like, I'm a.
Yeah, I've never went there.
Yeah,
but
But you know what's funny? Like when you travel in Europe, I'm sure you know when you're on tour.
Yeah.
You stop at McDonald's there on the autobahn.
Yes.
It's actually decent.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like there's a coffee shop with espressos,
Right.
and
No,
it's not
very
like
organized.
not like here where it's like.
It's like filth factory walking in.
But even here, like we drove cross country, which gets dismal for half the drive. But like even going across, you're like, there's an option. Like you can
Yeah.
stop at McDonald's and get something.
Yeah.
Where they don't be like, I'll just get some fries.
Yeah, that was the time where it was just like, can I get the bun with no burger?
bun?
And they're just like, you don't want a burger?
It's going to be cool to tour U.S. finally again. It's just like Subway, Del Taco, everything. Burger
I also
King.
figured
everything.
I can bring a lot of stuff.
Of
too.
course.
And
there's Whole Foods in every town, too.
You know what? A friend of mine told me a really interesting story. He was a tech guy from Apple, and most of the tech department was Indian or Pakistani, so they're vegan. They would cook their foods and I don't know the name. They'd cook it and like steam seal it, so and then bring it to Hong Kong and just microwave it. Damn. And I was like, really? He's like, no, it's vegan. It'll last for weeks. So you get these guys that are like in the engineering department. They're like, we have an unlock here, and I was like, I never thought of it.
Wow.
But it was basically pre-make their food.
Yes.
Just they were worried being in God knows where in China. Like, what's the option?
Oh,
Yeah.
And you might find something, you might not.
Probably not.
But I thought that was brilliant.
That is brilliant.
That is smart.
Yeah.
And you could just like every factory has a microwave.
True.
Bring some rice and you're good.
Yeah.
Do you have any major regrets in your life?
I don't think major regrets. Look, I've never effed up anything that bad.
Yeah.
The only thing, and it's not really a regret, I don't speak to my father, but it's two ways. It's not like, so it would have been nice to work that out, but I've tried and it's like, this just ain't working. There's a reason I moved out.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice because he's never seen my kid.
Oh, wow.
Which, it's more on him than on me in a way, because it's like, that's your granddaughter. And I'm not blaming him. I'm sure if you asked him, he'd have similar. But that's just weird to reconcile. Because, one day my stepsister's going to be like, hey, check this out. You're like, we're not that close, but that would have been nice to work out.
How old is he?
Late 70s.
Okay. Is he in New York still?
Yes, in Yonkers.
Wow, man.
And we tried to do it, but he got really weird. And I talked to my wife about it. She's like, she wanted us to try.
Yeah.
And she's like, when I tried, she's like, really? That's kind of weird. Like, he couldn't handle you calling him. And I was like, that's kind of. And then when you have your own.
Growing up?
Yeah, tight, but he's pretty problematic as a person.
Okay.
So it would have been nice, but also when you try and you're like, as we have kids or stuff, you know, like, I'm supposed to be the quote unquote bigger person.
100%. Yeah. I know. And just to be, even if just be around for them and they're like, you know what I mean? Even if you guys just cordial or whatever.
Even if it's like a fake like holiday thing, but I'm like, I don't really know if I want a fake holiday thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if I then want to jump back in the car and be like, now I know I moved. Like, this isn't fun.
Yeah.
Because I think there's also a fear that it's just the same. So part of you expects it maybe to be really great.
Yeah.
And then you're like, what if it's a shit show again?
Yeah.
Which to me is almost in a way more depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. Yeah. Damn.
But, world goes on.
So how many siblings do you have?
I have a stepsister and stepbrother.
Okay.
He's remarried.
Okay. And you close with them?
No.
No, okay.
It's the whole thing. It's not, it would be like, not that I wouldn't want to share it, but it would literally be another hour and you'd be like, okay, that's weird.
So you're like, I got it. Yeah. You tried many times, man.
Yeah, families are just, and then I did hang out with my stepsister and she has met my daughter, which is cool. But then it's always like, hey, can't you and dad? And I was like, and she's like, here's your number. She wanted to like buff it out in a good way. And then I was like, well, I tried. And he kind of was dick. And she's like, oh, you want to try again? And I was like, honestly, no.
Right.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Families are complex.
They really are, man. They really are. And it's always the wives are always like, just go say something. Be the bigger person. I've been, and I mean, I get it. They try and they want you to fucking.
I've tried again. I'm not saying I'm a charmer and done everything right, but it's like you try once, you try twice. Like I'm done. I got. And also you realize like, well, I have a kid now too, so it's not like I'm not 18, so to say. Like, I've run my life the way I want to.
I'm a grown ass man. Yeah.
Yeah. Besides that, nothing really. Pretty. I don't stay up at night worrying about shit.
No, I hear you. Do you have any daily rituals? Stuff you do every day?
Watch Law and Order.
Sick.
No, I'm get up. I mean, guilty as charged. I look at this to look at the news real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't get into emails in bed, but I'm curious. I'll wake up early, like 5:36. I'll read a bunch of papers, blah blah. Probably jump on the internet or Instagram. See what my friends did last, around the world. Then it's like wake up, have espresso, feed the dogs. So those are all the morning rituals.
Nice.
Then it's get to some kind of work.
Yeah.
I try to not get in meetings until like 11 or 12, like out of the house.
Yeah.
But now things are definitely like it's a lot of
Coming back fast.
a lot of 8 o'clock phone calls these days. Also, because a lot of them are with Europe and California. But I'm pretty mellow.
You seem pretty chill. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. There's no. I don't have a huge like agenda of things I have to do, and I try not to get into that like addictive like I'm going to do yoga every day like at this time. Just like
But do you do yoga?
a bit, but just
Okay.
like when I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
I like riding my bike.
Yeah. We have to get the e-bike for you.
Yeah.
E-bike's sick.
I know.
We'll try to lock you down. Anybody listening?
Yeah, and I definitely would love to just promote that. Get it with the company and be like, I will be your guinea pig sponsor. Because I was walking everywhere when I moved to LA. I don't have a car. I haven't driven in, 20 years or so. Like
That is perfect, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
It's the future.
Right?
My wife wants to get a Vespa, and I'm really scared about that, man. She works at the barracks. She just wants to go back and forth on the Vespa. She's
love
selling
Vespas,
her car right
man.
now. I'm like, it sounds sketchy in LA, man.
I don't like Vespas. The wheels are too little. The potholes?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Vespas are cool for the beach.
That's a great point.
I mean, if you're going to do it, get a motorcycle.
My wife's going to go from a 65 Falcon to a Vespa, bro.
No, I think Vespas are cool, but
Just
just
the stylish,
but the wheels.
Yeah.
It's not going to do. It's
I know.
one pothole.
It's a wrap, right?
I don't say it's a wrap, but it's not like you're in a motorcycle. You just cruise over it.
Yeah.
And there's some potholes here that you can
I
go
know.
fishing in. They're pretty gnarly.
I know. Damn. One of my final questions is: you consider yourself an optimist or pessimist?
I'm actually I'm fairly optimistic,
You
but
seem
I'm,
like it,
I'm
yeah.
also pretty realistic. Like I'm not
You're a
out
realist.
like I'm not like, oh, the world's perfect.
Yeah.
I'm not doom and gloom, but I'm definitely pragmatic about things. Like
wife's like that.
I'll call bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm not one to shut up, but maybe when I was younger, I was a bit more pessimistic, but maybe that's a young thing.
Yeah.
And it's not like I think the world's a shit show. So, but I'm optimistic things are going to get better. But like, just watching the news and stuff, you're like,
Oh, it's hard, man.
it's just nuts.
It is, man.
And even like race problems, poverty problems, global problems, the COVID, it's like the politicians, you're like, wow. When you're older, you're like, no wonder they don't get along. They all hate each other.
Yeah.
And
Every
they
single
pretend
day.
to like each other. So I'm like, that's just the pragmatic part of me.
Okay.
But I think things are, again, I feel like I'm somewhat privileged. So I can't say things are getting better for everyone.
Yeah.
But I think there's good, even COVID, like a year into it, a year and a half, there's a vaccine. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Not that people can take it or not take it,
it's
not my
going
business.
fast.
But
Yeah.
but a while ago, everyone was like wearing these things, like washing your hands 84 times a day.
I know, man.
And there's, like here, people are doing it, but like in other countries, there's no vaccine. So
Yeah. Dude, I remember coming home, taking all my clothes off from the front, throwing me in the washing machine, taking a shower. I was so crazy, man. Max, my son had like a gas mask on, washing your hands, wearing rubber gloves on. Yo, it was crazy in the middle of it.
Oh,
You
no,
know,
at
what
the beginning.
fuck is
At the
happening?
beginning, yeah.
well,
That's what
in like
I'm
March,
saying.
April, I remember going to Ralph's with like rubber gloves. And
Yeah.
then like you'd peel them off and like, what do I do with them? You're like,
Right.
dude.
And I had the shit in the car to squeeze on. And then I come home, I was like, wash your hands. Like, but I put the stuff on.
Because you didn't know what the fuck, man.
And then it was like, put the groceries on this side of the table.
Right,
It was-
right.
Wipe them down. My wife would wipe down the groceries, bro.
And then recently they're like, oh, the plexiglass doesn't work.
I know, man. Oh, you can't catch it from touching things or whatever.
Or just, but it makes sense. I guess the germs can go around the plexi, but it's been a wild ride.
It has been. It's like a year and a half almost now. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. I remember like, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, Trump was like, we'll be fine by April.
Yeah.
You're like, but it's April.
I was far from listening from him from like, testing how far this would go. I was like, we're going to be in
I mean,
for a
I was
while.
fascinated
Felt
like
that.
everyone was, but once it started clicking in, and
Yeah.
the numbers, you're like 1,000 people,
Yeah, and-
20, you're like,
Yeah.
oh boy,
I was like, this is gonna
borders closing down.
Yeah.
It was like some sci-fi shit.
Absolutely. I mean,
was.
walking around my neighborhood, there was nobody out on the street.
But it was great.
Everyone parked. I was like,
I'd still go to meetings like downtown, like work, wear a mask. It's like I'd get from Venice to downtown in like 12 minutes.
Damn.
yeah.
That was
crazy.
good.
That was, yeah.
It was like Christmas.
And I
break
was
or
like
something.
riding my bike to the beach. Like from
I remember also
Hollywood.
like
Yeah.
when we lived in Santa Monica, there was a Trader Joe's around the corner. Like I drive past, like, holy shit, no one's online.
Yeah.
Get home, get the stuff, run over. You're like, oh shit, there's, it's like the 6 feet.
Yeah.
And then I started like, he talked to me like, oh, just come on Tuesdays. I'm like, why? Like, because we restock on Monday. And I'm like, okay.
I
Yeah.
remember that too. Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, don't come on the Sunday or Monday. We'll be out of everything. And you go on Tuesday and you turn and you're like, wow, there's paper towel.
Damn, and the toilet paper, all that shit.
Yeah.
I remember seeing lines to go to Whole Foods. Oh, we're not going there today. Just driving by.
No, I would do this because we had on Wilshire, there was Whole Foods, Erewhon, and Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
But like Trader Joe's is it's affordable. You can get what you need.
Yeah.
And then do like a Ralph's run. But I think that was like a thing. Like, let me get back really quick. 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't want to be at Trader Joe's with 70 people.
yeah, no, not at all.
Not that I
didn't wanna
felt
be around
unsafe.
Anybody.
But it was just the time.
yeah.
Yeah, dude.
And then I'd go and I'm like, damn, I forgot my headphones.
Yeah. That was a big, like, oh man. gotta go back. I can't be out here.
Yeah, it was.
Without my head,
It
without my
seems like
music.
so long ago. It's so crazy, man.
I remember talking to friends. They're like, dude, I just left Ralph's and I got 2 containers of toilet paper. They're like, wow, you're hoarding. I was like,
Yeah.
no, I want toilet paper.
Yeah.
I didn't get 60 rolls. I got 10.
Well, it's like I'm going to the grocery store. Be careful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I
It's
remember.
really
Like,
going,
be
like-
careful out there.
The people like wiping the handle. You're like, and now you're getting crazed.
Yeah,
dude.
I was like, come on, stop.
Well, we made it through there, man. It's crazy, man. It was crazy.
Still making it. Through.
Still crazy.
Still crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But now it's just like
Less
people,
crazy.
now it's like people everywhere. Now it's like
Yeah.
fuck.
Since
man.
opening up, 4th of July is going to be insane.
Will it be the 4th of July to remember?
I
It
think
might,
so.
I imagine just being like the purge or something. You know, That's so just like total chaos. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, thank you, man. Thanks
No,
for
awesome.
being here.
Thanks
man.
for having
This
me.
was awesome hanging out with you and hearing your story and
Yeah. No, hope,
reconnecting with you.
no, it's great to see y'all. We'll have to hang out
Yeah,
soon.
yeah, definitely.
Hopefully the audience appreciates.
Of course. And maybe if you,
A little
I
history.
had met you before Phat Farm, right?
Who, me?
Yeah, we met a bunch of places.
Yeah,
before.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
Before
that,
Phat
but
Farm, I
because of
thought.
that job that we worked right across from each other, and we connected more because of
Absolutely.
that. So,
No
that's
doubt.
all.
That was a cool block.
It was a
Yeah.
great block.
I mean, great. I mean, Soho was great back
It
then.
was like popping off, like everything. was-
Super fun.
Yeah.
Near the, Soho was cool. If you had to get west, you can walk. If you go east,
Yeah.
Thompson Square Park was there. You just walk anywhere.
I even worked at another place there at Match.
Oh,
on
Match,
Mercer
yeah.
Street.
The restaurant.
Yeah, like doing security at like one point.
I remember that spot.
It was a great spot to work though, because it started at like 10 and be done at 2.
Really?
Yeah, it was like, all right, like good pay.
There was really good
Great
bakery.
food.
There's really good bakery too down on Prince Street, a couple blocks down.
Oh, across West Broadway, the green one.
yeah. it was
Yeah.
small.
Venero's or something, or
yeah,
the green little small
little
one.
rolls I would get. There and
Italiano.
shit. Yeah, it was really great, man.
I know the one you mean.
And then Nike came later on, 21 Mercer and all that, and that post office became a Whole
Yeah,
Foods.
that came
And the
much
Apple Store?
later.
Yeah,
it became
dude.
the Apple Store. Yeah.
Holy shit!
And you remember the first Whole Foods on Prince Street?
Yes.
It wasn't Whole Foods, the chain,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
You're right.
yeah.
What did Phat
That
Farm
was
become? What did Phat Farm become?
I don't know what it is now.
I think it'd be like 9 things.
Damn.
Yeah.
And then fucking the Hundreds was on that street.
Really?
I think.
Really?
Yeah, the Hundreds had a store there. Yeah, man, on Prince Street. I remember that. I don't know if it's still there anymore, but yeah. Swear to God.
Oh, that was.
I mean, I was just there and walked around a little bit. And I was like,
It's so different, dude.
and then my iPad broke, so I went to the Apple Store and I was like, oh, we don't have that one in stock. You're like, oh, whatever. They're like, but we have a bigger one with more. I was like, I don't need that.
Right.
I don't need that. I'm not playing this
Yeah.
game. I don't need that. It's an iPad. I'm not saying. No, I mean she was being helpful. I was like, I don't save anything on it.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, if I fly, I download some TV shows,
Yeah.
but they're minor. But it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, get the terabyte. I'm like,
Like
to do
terabyte and an
to
iPad?
do
Always
what?
talking you into some shit, man.
Yeah.
But I didn't buy it and bought it at home, so I was like, fuck the Apple Store in Soho.
I just found my original iPod. It's got so much good shit on there, man.
I have like 5. I've saved them all,
Damn.
but I don't have the connector.
Neither do I. That's what they were missing.
Ah, okay.
It's got everything on it. Just cool to
I
hold
think
it.
I
Look
have my
through it.
first iPad.
I've seen people now, if you go on internet, you can buy them off like eBay. People rebuild them so you can do them for lossless sound.
Wow.
There's a whole like aftermarket like iPad, because some of those are like a lot of memory.
Yeah,
man,
and then
yeah.
super reliable.
And I also love the little wheel. I mean, I like
the
this,
wheel
but
too,
the little
man.
wheel was sick.
It was sick.
I knew how to do my playlists.
Yeah.
Then,
Damn.
then they jam on an airplane. I'm like, great, I can't do it because you have to reboot it.
Oh yeah, on a gym. That's right. I had the little teeny one too. You could hang and run with it and shit.
The Nano.
The
The
Nano,
Nano.
yeah.
Right.
They were so ahead of the curve.
Fuck, man. You know what I missed too? The sidekicks.
I had a cartoon sidekick.
Me too. I went to the fucking thing in LA, the party for it.
I remember that too.
I have the box still. Like it's
That was after
cus-
my day, man.
I remember
You were
that.
fucking Brazil for 20 years.
Was
Dude,
like,
it-
That
Sidekick-
party was like West Hollywood, wasn't it? One of those
Yeah,
like
I was there, yeah. The sidekick was sick. You flip it up.
wow. I just
Like a
remember
next level BlackBerry.
I remember there was like a little
Pilot.
VIP thing with Harry Dean Stanton was there.
Oh shit! That's crazy.
Skinhead Rob was there.
Yeah, I was there. I was with. Yeah, I was hanging out back then. That's fucking such a small world, man. That's crazy, man. I was at that party. Yeah,
I haven't seen Rob in a minute.
he's chilling. He's around. Yeah, that's
He's on his
fuck-
motorcycle.
yeah, yeah,
cruising.
yeah. He's out there. Fuck, man. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
man.
for sure. It was great.
This is a great hang, man.
No,
Thanks for
super good.
listening, everybody. Wait, people just find you on the gram, or whatever, right, under your name.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally cool.
Is it crazy? Your last name's Paul Mittleman. Do you feel like sometimes you were a middleman in between people connecting people?
I mean, I
wanted to ask that.
I do
Nice.
connect
Such a
a lot.
great
My
name.
daughter always jokes about it, but I think if you know people, because now it's like, oh, crack me off. I'm like, But there's people, that's how they make their money. Like, hey, I introduced you to you, and you just did this deal, so can I get 10%?
Oh, right.
And you're
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
and nothing's
No, but that happens a lot.
I'd be rich, bro.
and nothing's wrong with that. I'm just not that guy. Like, hey,
Right.
hey, I introduced
No,
you
but
to
there are
dinner,
people-
and
yeah.
Wow.
slide me a check.
Yeah.
And that's just part of your personality. Who you
But that's
are.
some very
That's-
Hollywood, like.
Hell yeah.
It's not only Hollywood. Though.
Yeah, but
It's-
I always just think it's like.
You're right.
Dude, I'd be so papered, man.
Oh, I've thought it too in hindsight. I'm like, damn, so you just made X amount of millions. I'm good. I mean, my life's not bad, but I'm like, how come I don't have a Lamborghini SUV? You have 3 of them.
Damn. So yeah, Paul Mittleman. Wow. People ever called you that? I'm sure they
Yeah,
have.
totally.
Middleman.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Paul. Thank
All right,
you
cool.
so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, y'all. Liquid Death's been so kind to give me a promo code. So for your first purchase on liquiddeath.com, go to liquiddeath.com/OLOC, and you get a free set of koozies with your first purchase of H2O, still or sparkling. If not, you can try it also at Whole Foods or 7-Eleven. Use the promo code OLOC for your first purchase of Liquid Death. Thank you, Liquid Death, for your support. Appreciate you so much. Murder your thirst. H2O saves lives, y'all.